right, good evening. I'm calling to order the Concord Township Board of Trustee meeting for June 15th, 2022. Would you please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Mr. Rose, will you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Dondorfer.
Present.
Mr. McIntosh.
Present.
Mrs. Lucci.
Present. Moving on to the approval of minutes.
Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve the June 1st, 2022 public hearing meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the regular trustee meeting minutes from June 1st, 2022.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our elected official reports, our fiscal officer, Mrs. Dawson, is not here this evening, so we will move on to trustees. Mr. Dondorfer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be brief. It was nice last Thursday. We opened up our summer concert series with a little big band. The weather was great. We had a great turnout. Got to mingle with a lot of residents. They were excited about the summer concert series and the bicentennial birthday for Concord Township. The food trucks were out. It was a great way to kick off summer and our concert series. I know we have one scheduled tomorrow. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. It looks a little dicey with some storms moving in, but hopefully we get it out. I did have a few contacts with some residents. I know we all received some contacts from some residents that had concerns about excessive noise on the western end of Concord Township that we're working with right now to try to mediate that situation. I did have some conversation with a developer from a subdivision in Concord Township regarding some signage that needs to be erected, specifically speed limit and stop signs within the development. And we had some updates on our fire station project. We're moving ahead. It looks like we have a slight delay, not too much, with everything that's going on, but we hope to be out of the ground here soon and moving forward and seeing some substantial growth in that project. So it's exciting. With that, hopefully everybody can join us on some of our activities that we're having throughout the summer on our bicentennial. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. McIntosh.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Well, since Carl was brief, I guess I'll go long. Just kidding. Had a couple meetings. The Lake County Township Association met last week, 2 weeks ago actually, and then I know last week we had a JED meeting, and we basically recapped the trip to Vegas for the ICSC. It was a relatively brief meeting. I know I already gave it a bit of an update as far as who we talked to, but some retailers interested in the commercial development properties that we have, and it was constructive. Nothing really substantive at this point, but just making good contacts. And I do know that Rita, who's the JED administrator, did provide us an update that said she had already seen some follow-up communication, so we're seeing some follow-up from ICSC, so it's time well spent. No, we've had some zoning complaints. I've also spoken with the residents about those noise complaints, and I know we're working on that. I did get a call from Senator Serino very recently to let us know that the Senate had approved capital budget request from Concord Township. I think our administrator might be elaborating on that, but he did call me to give me a little bit of a heads up that was coming our way. I will also add that the last month or two, I've spent a lot of time talking with our legal department and our zoning department about a bunch of zoning matters that we've had. I know we had the public hearing recently and then the vote on Ivy Ridge, which is the next development of Quail Hollow. We've also had some activity in the commercial districts over there in the Auburn-Cryle district, a lot of zoning matters, and I've been putting a lot of time in on researching that and sort of getting a good comprehensive understanding of our zoning, what the limits of those developments are, and how we navigate that. And I think it's interesting to see how the economic development and the activity of the JED and our zoning resolutions work together. So I've spent a lot of time on that. And I did have a chance to talk with a firefighter from a neighboring community who did take the opportunity to tell us that what we had done as far as bringing on our full-time and transitioning was really forward-thinking in the sense that they're seeing the same problems of the overtime and getting part-timers to show up. So just was another reinforcement of the wise decision that we made as a board to get that. And with that, I'd like to wish everyone, I know we have a happy Father's Day weekend this weekend, and as Ms. Lucci pointed out, we will not meet again until after the Independence Day holiday. So happy Independence Day to everybody, and looking forward to seeing folks at some Thursday concerts between now and then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I share what both of you said. First of all, look forward to the concerts. Hopefully tomorrow's weather holds out and it's not too hot. Maybe we need to have some sprinklers going on or something. I did speak with a few residents regarding some noise complaints along where there's some music that's played in the evening time. I did some research regarding the House Bill 172, which we're going to speak about tonight, which is the fireworks. Had some lengthy discussions with our fire department and some other discussions with other people in the other communities about sort of where they were at with the House Bill 172. I would like to thank our fire department for keeping the St. Gabe's Festival nice and safe. I heard that was a great turnout. I understand you volunteer for that, Mr. Dondorfer. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the year with our bicentennial events. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And yes, happy 4th of July to everyone. So we will move on. It's time for our department reports. Our administration department, Mr. Andy Rose.
Thank you, Mrs. Lucci, members of the board, members of the audience, good evening. I'll start with a few of the items on the agenda. Item A is the resolution to opt out of House Bill 172, otherwise known as the fireworks law. Our resolution continues the ban on discharging fireworks in the township and basically leaves us status quo. This is what we had the long discussion on at the last meeting, and I know you've all done your independent research on this. Item B is a vote to approve language changes to our employee handbook. This is regarding vacation time transfer and vacation credit for employees that are coming from another public agency. And this language was reviewed by legal prior to putting it on the agenda. Item C is a PO to increase the amount to Geosci because we need some additional geotechnical work for the fire station project based on the soils that are there. So we want to make sure, do it once, do it right. So we're just doubling down on some testing and geotechnical work and advising. Item D is a purchase order for the purchase of a new Case 580 SN. That is a fancy wheeled backhoe, for lack of a better term. This is for the service department. This replaces the old Case 580. It has reached the end of its service life. And just to note, this is something that was budgeted for in the service department budget. And the new equipment also will have increased capabilities with new technology that are not present on the piece that we are retiring. As we are not meeting again until July 6th, I also want to wish everybody a happy and safe 4th of July holiday. This is going to be our country's 247th year. And I look forward to another, hopefully, great year. Rick, if you could bring up my picture. Since this is our bicentennial year, this featured bicentennial picture this meeting is a photo of the Loheiser Gas and Grocery Store, which is located at the corner of Ravenna and Girdled. Most of you now know it as Pinky's, across the street from Bremix. But this store was established in 1939 by the Loheiser family. This picture dates from the mid-1950s. It was owned and operated by the Loheisers until 1998. They also sold, I guess in the mid-60s, they also sold some used cars out of there as well. So we did at one point have a used car lot in Concord Township. But anyhow, and by the way, since gas is a huge topic, everywhere I turn, everybody's talking about gas prices. I looked it up, and the average price of gas in the mid-1950s was 29 cents a gallon. So there's a little nostalgia for you. 29 cents a gallon. Can't even imagine. Can't even buy a piece of bubble gum for 29 cents. But I digress. And then finally, just a happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. I hope you have a great Sunday. That concludes my report, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. So we have a guest with us this evening. Mr. Ryan Namick is going to speak with us on behalf of our owner's rep for Fire Station Project.
Madam Chair, trustees, thank you for having us here.
Thank
This
you.
evening. Just want to give you guys a little update on where we stand with the fire station project. I've sent Mr. Rose our monthly report at the end of May. As you'll see in that report, the current progress of the schedule is roughly about 40 days behind schedule. Mainly from two reasons. One has been the very wet spring, as we've been trying to come out of the ground. The amount of rain we've had has kind of slowed some progress. We need good dry weather to help us get out of the ground and be able to get our foundation mat forward, so that way the builder can go further or vertical. And we've also had a couple of steel issues, design changes that have taken place throughout some shop drawing reviews, RFI questions and clarifications that the design team has been working through. So we've addressed the soil issues. Things are moving forward, as Mr. Rose has said. We've had geosci on site on a daily basis working with the contractor to make sure that the soil conditions as we build up, and over this past week or so, they've added about 2 feet of fill on site to get us up to building subgrade, which is where the building will eventually stand and go upwards. So they've been here working through, making sure we're meeting the compaction that's required in order to build the fire station on top of it. And in addition, we have Pinnacle Contracting, who is working on their schedule update here through the end of June as a recovery schedule to bring us back in line with where we're going to be at for completion. Substantial completion is March 6th of 23.
Correct.
So I'll open up if you guys have any questions for me. Otherwise, I appreciate your time. Thank you for having me tonight. And hopefully we'll have another update for you guys soon.
Thank you for the update.
Appreciate your time too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, it's time for our audience portion. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak? All right, moving on to old business. Since there is none, we will move on to new business.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-14, the intent to opt out of House Bill 172 and establishing the ban on discharging, igniting, or exploding fireworks in the township.
Madam Chair, I will second.
Discussion?
I could start off.
Sure. Go ahead.
We had some discussion at the last meeting. I can tell you that in my 30 years in the law enforcement profession, that the majority of calls related to the discharge of fireworks wasn't wanting to discharge them. It was the result of the discharge during late hours. Obviously, most of the fireworks are discharged in the evening or early morning hours because it's nighttime. So those resulted in noise disturbances. So most law enforcement agencies are discretionary on the 4th of July, and you give a warning, and if you come back, you shut it down, obviously in celebration of Independence Day. But as far as House Bill 172 goes, you're talking about increasing the ability to discharge fireworks over 20-some days of the year. In my opinion, I think it will tax our safety services, both law enforcement and fire. When we used to send officers to the calls of noise disturbances because people wanted to get to sleep, or the noise kept continuing and residents wanted to shut down, you just can't send one officer. You usually send two, just out of safety, because a lot of these situations involve parties and things of that nature where these fireworks were being blown off. So I think it's taxing to our services, law enforcement and fire already. Our law enforcement staffing across not only the Lake County but adjacent counties in the country, staffing levels are reduced, and our safety forces are trying to fill vacant positions. There's not a lot of new blood coming in the profession, so I think it's going to tax our first responders, who are already taxed day to day. Secondly, I believe it will impact safety. Obviously, if you create more days where these types of situations are allowed and they're not discharged by licensed professionals or people that are certified to discharge fireworks, I think it creates a propensity for hazardous discharge of those fireworks that can result in injury and compromise safety. So I think my responsibility as a trustee is to make sure that we do what's best for the township. And my feeling is that I think we opt out because I just think it's compromising. I know there's maybe the other side of the coin is, is it government overreach? People should be able to, to discharge the fireworks. I don't think it's government overreach. I think, in my opinion, that we have an obligation to protect the interests of the township. I think they will create a large number of noise disturbances and tax our safety services, again, fire and police, and it will also increase potential for injury and compromise safety just based on the situation that there's going to be more situations where unexperienced people will be discharging fireworks.
Thank you.
This came up at the Township Association meeting last week, or was it 2 weeks ago? I guess keep screwing that up. So we had a lengthy conversation about it, and I know our neighboring township to the east, Leroy, has already taken action, and they've pretty much permitted it with some level of restriction. And I know that Painesville Township doesn't intend to do anything. And I know that the sheriff's department was seeking some uniformity in that, not having to. And I'm sure, Carl, you can appreciate the idea of like, well, Painesville's doing this, Concord's doing that. Like, I can certainly imagine that. I know that we've had conversations with the community about a number of issues, and something that comes back often is that people say, well, I live in a township and I don't want, and the idea, or at least the theory in my mind, townships is it's limited rule. So I think from that standpoint, you look at, do we, not so much government overreach, but is it just one of those things where people come to a township and they expect to have those freedoms? That's maybe why they're here. They don't have overreaching ordinances and things like they'll get in a city. Concord's an interesting community in the sense that I think you have a lot of people that, you're a trustee for the city. No, we live in a township. So on one hand, half the time you speak to a resident, you're correcting them that we're not a city, and the other half, there's people out here that are very ardent about the fact that they live in a township. And it's definitely, I think we kind of ran across this with the trash hauler contract. I don't want government making that choice for me. And I certainly think that there's also the argument that you can make it illegal, and we constantly have the sheriff responding. 4th of July, Independence Day is a big deal with respect to noise complaints and parties, like you said. I am concerned if we go the opt-out route, or have at least had this thought that if we go the opt-out route, where people are going to think the state law and not realize local is going to supersede that, and that, but the state passed it, it's legal to do it on X date and all these other dates. Are you going to make response even more of a challenge as opposed to, hey, it's legal, we don't have to respond? Not an easy decision. I definitely see both sides of the coin, and of course you bring up great points, safety. I don't doubt that if you can run the stats on it at some point in the next year or so, depending on how broadly this is accepted in the state, you're going to have more injuries and accidents and fire. It's just going to happen. It's not a safe thing, and you hear about these accidents all the time. So I don't know. I do find myself struggling on both sides of the issue.
Thank you. So I agree. I think that, like you said, limited rule is I think important in a township, and I sort of felt the same way about the trash thing. That
Right.
wasn't my decision to make for people. I think, it would be nice for people to be able to enjoy fireworks on a private basis in their private lot, if that's what they want to do. And I agree with the uniformity of enforcing this with our neighbors on both sides of us. But I also feel that, as a township official, that safety should be our primary concern. And I really worry with, we have houses that are close together, and I worry about maybe discharges that aren't completely safe and how that could cause injury and put our first responders in situations that they probably don't need to be in. I spoke with people on our fire department who highly recommend that we opt out, and I feel that I need to listen to these experts and weigh in on, or also, understand from their viewpoint how that would impact this decision. We get calls on 4th of July all the time for noise. We get calls for noise on other issues. And the other thing is, if we did accept this, we could restrict it. We could restrict it for maybe just the 4th of July or just Memorial Day. But then how do you pick? You're not going to make everyone happy by just picking maybe one holiday. And to me, that's going to be a little more confusing if you only allow one. Well, that kind of doesn't make sense either. So I'm almost thinking that it just seems the more responsible thing to opt out based on some of those decisions. And we still can enjoy fireworks. I think enjoying fireworks by individuals who are trained and it's done on a commercial basis, we can still do that. It's not like we're taking anything away.
I agree. I mean, we're not changing the way it's always been in the township, and I do know we get inundated with noise complaints. I do think one of the issues we're going to have is, again, back to people thinking that, oh, well, it's legal, and not realizing that we've made an act, and if this legislation passes, I might encourage our administration that we need to, in the next week or two, really step up the communication on how this vote goes. That lets people know what Concord Township decided. And it's one of those things where I think, when I consider the limited government and the philosophy, I certainly think safety of a community is something that compels government to act, as opposed to, you might think about the trash decisions like, okay, that's a little bit more of an economic one. We talked about our roads, convenience, and so forth, and that's not impacting anything. Both Amy, you, and Carl have made compelling case with respect to safety, and I think that's not a small issue here from a standpoint of governance and what our responsibility is to the community.
Any other comments?
Nope.
So all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to piggyback. It's passed. I will put together a campaign to put it on the website and our social media platforms to properly inform our residents.
Thank you,
and
Mr.
we'll
Rose.
continue that messaging up and through the 4th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve updates to Concord Township Employee Handbook, Section 4.2.2, new employees. New employees that have transferred from a full-time position with another Ohio public agency may transfer their unused balance of accumulated vacation leave credit up to a maximum of 24 hours to the township. ORC 123-1-32-10, new employees that have transferred from a full-time position with another Ohio public agency shall be given vacation credit for their prior service years with that agency. Upon full-time employment with the township, ORC 9.44, such time shall be granted upon completion of employee's probation period as determined by the department director.
And I will second.
Any discussion?
I think we covered this fairly generously in office hours, or no, I'm sorry, staff meeting a couple weeks ago. I know we talked about it at length with our law director, and I think just from the standpoint of giving hiring being as it is and making sure that Concord Township is competitive, that we offer a generous benefit package. And I think this is consistent with what's in the marketplace and something we want to do to make our township an attractive place to work. So
Madam Chairman, Chairperson, excuse me. I just have a question. The initial site, ORC 123:1-32-10, that's got to be the Ohio Administrative Code, not the ORC.
Oh, that's right. It is.
Yeah.
Do I need to
So do you want?
repeat that?
No, we'll treat that as a clerical error as opposed to an amendment, because it is yeah, exactly right. But again, for the
Ohio's-
purposes of the record, The Scrivener's error, the ORC should be the OAC,
Ohio Administrative Code.
right?
Yeah,
But the other one's okay?
Yes.
yes.
The other one's perfect.
Okay. So we're gonna call that a clerical error, but we can vote?
Yes.
Okay. I agree with you, Mr. McIntosh. I think we have to think about recruiting and how that would make us an attractive place other than what we also offer. So I think it's important for employees to have that benefit. All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Chairman, I vote to approve PO to GeoCheck Sci in the amount not to exceed $15,000 for additional geotechnical work for the fire station project, or Fire Station 1 project.
I will second.
Any discussion?
I know we've had some conversations. I talked with Mr. Rose about this, and
Right.
it's all about doing the job right. And the last thing we want to do is get the foundation of the fire station wrong. I could imagine that correcting this mistake could cost many times $15,000 down the road.
Yeah, these are just some additional costs, like Mr. McIntosh stated, so we can be thorough and make sure that our foundation is secure and we're coming out of the ground the right way, so.
All right, all in favor?
Aye. Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve Service Department PO to Southeastern Equipment in the amount of $97,955 for a Case 580 SN machine.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Budgeted, needed.
Yep.
How old is the old one?
22 years old.
Got a lot of use out of
We're
that.
getting 16,000 on a trade-in for it, which we felt was generous.
Right.
Awesome. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, future meetings and announcements. Mr. Rose, would you care to read those, please?
Thank you, Mr. Lucci. Future meetings and announcements. June 20th, township offices will be closed in observance of Juneteenth Day. June 30th, Friday at 9 a.m. I'm sorry, that'll be Thursday, June 30th at 9 a.m. will be the staff meeting here at Town Hall. July 1st, we will be closed for the trustee designated holiday. July 4th, we will be closed in observance of the Independence Day 4th of July holiday. July 5th at 7 p.m., the zoning commission will meet here at Town Hall. And then July 6th, from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. will be trustee office hours in the conference room. And then 7:30 p.m. on July 6th will be the regular trustee meeting here at Town Hall.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rose.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We're closing or concluding the trustees meeting for this evening. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Concord.